What is going on, everyone? My name's Boit, and I'm back with some more Age of Mythology. The Titans action spawning in the blue color, playing as Oranos. His name is Skady. His opponent today in the red color, playing as Hades. His name is Kimo. It's currently 1-0 for Skady in this best of 3 series for the Champions League. Honestly, this series is almost winner takes all, in all honesty. Like, Kimo wins, he's first in the group, which basically means he's got a very, very easy path to the playoffs. If Skady wins, he's second in the group, significantly easier path to the playoffs than he would have if he loses, which would be an impossible path because he wouldn't be in the playoffs. So, very, very important here for both players to win. And we'll see how it's all going to shape up after all is said and done. But we see a change of gods for both players. Skady going in with the Oranos, Kimo going in with the Hades. This is always going to be a pretty terrifying matchup to play for the Oranos player, because you know for the entirety of this game that you are on a lifeline. You have not a lifeline, you are on a timer. You are on a timer, and if you don't get the win, or if you don't get the gold staff, or you don't get the 4th town center up by, let's say, the 20-minute in the game, you're going to be in for a long game of trying to figure out how to grind the Oranos or the Hades down in order to try and figure out how to win. You have to play it very, very nicely from the Oranos' perspective if you don't win early here, in other words. So we'll see what Skady's going to be able to come up with. If anyone can do it, Skady can. Kimo, on the other hand, here on this map, this is Tropical Mirage. You do find yourself having some very, very nice town centers a lot of the time. You can see this town center here, not that good in all honesty. There's tons of giraffe on it, but it's quite far away with the forest blocking it. Meanwhile, on the left town center over here, much, much better. Another 6 giraffe here with a town center, a Hades town center here, some sentinels and even a wall getting placed onto this position. Shooting in the giraffe close to this town center would be very, very nice. Now, one play here that I think is, it's completely within the rules, but you have to do it at the right timing. So the rules are that you're not allowed to kill a animal unless you intend to hunt it with your villagers in the archaic age. You're allowed to do it in the classical age. And what this means is, if you see this town center going up and you know you can't stop it, you can actually push the giraffe away from the town center by attacking them and attempt to kill them in this area, which means you can actually attack that area where your opponent's trying to hunt the giraffe from. Can be a way to play to kind of make a really good town center much, much worse as a pretty try-hardy tournament Age of Mythology style of play that is well and truly within the rules. So we'll see if that's something that Skady wants to try. Obviously, you'd have to heroize the oracles on this position and then do that. But we'll see what's going to happen. Is Kimo at this point grabbing his giraffe over here. Now, the other thing here is that Kimo doesn't necessarily even have to grab that town center straight away. There are a couple of Greek games that have been played over the course of this tournament, which involved the Greek player playing against Oranos going for a 1 town center opening into a 2nd town center a little bit later, making it a lot more safe to get that town center up. But we do see that Kimo's moving over onto the wood here, moving over onto the gold here, and it looks like he's just going to be going for that standard fast 2nd town center as the Katoskopos getting some damage done onto those oracles, being very, very annoying. One thing that you can do, and I think you probably should be doing with the oracles, is because you already know where all the settlements are with those oracles, and you don't really need to have them in an aggressive position. You don't need to scout your opponent's base that well with Oranos. And you can avoid that damage in order to utilize your oracles in the archaic age by simply just scouting your side of the map, bunching your oracles up in your base, and then as you're going to be advancing, move them forward, and then you can manually heroize them if you so choose, or you can click the Valor and you can get away with it. But with that Katoskopos getting so much damage done, Skady is going to be under a lot of pressure here, because heroizing those weakened oracles is just not going to be that useful, as Ajax and the Katoskopos currently going to be targeting down Skady Citizen as he has to run away, tries to stay nice and close to his mana here as he accidentally kills the Zebra quite far away from those units there, as the citizens have to garrison yet again as the Mermillo and the Term are coming through. Meanwhile, Kimo gets his Chiron out. The villagers are going to be making their way over onto this town center as the Promethean offspring searching around for villagers to take out, as the Term are coming through with that Mermillo to start taking out the Ajax here. This can be a very tough thing to kind of deal with, as Kimo is getting so much value from this as the Minotaur comes through as well, as a Promethean offspring also getting picked off. Kimo's nice play from the early stages of the game there, as the Shockwave coming in to try and take out the Minotaur here can be vitally important to clean that one up, as it does look like it will be falling as Skady chases that down. Kimo's going to have to retreat back with his other units. There is more units coming through, and Kimo has to make a retreat back because his Minotaur does end up falling. But Kimo's going to be getting himself that second town center up, and he's going to be in a very, very good position here. You'd have to assume after all of that early game damage has come through. Kimo also preemptively retreating away from that forward hunt. He's got plenty of goats in his base here to eat. The hardest part about this is going to be defending this gold mine, but he does have the sentinels. But using sentinels in the home base here for Kimo, bit of a question mark move, because this hunt is not necessarily safe. It's pretty safe, but it's not the best thing in the world, and we'll see what Skady is going to do here as he moves forward with his units to try and harass some villagers. And we see him coming in as he does actually go for the harass on the hunt here, trying to push that away as best as he possibly can to get as much damage possible onto this position. Beautiful play there from Skady. We're saying how this is kind of what you have to do. He probably could have done it a little bit better, pushing the giraffe a little bit further away. You can also preemptively kill these as the Hades player. You're building the town center up, send the villagers over, one villager over, and start shooting them back in as an idea as well. People are going to say things like this is abusive and stuff. There's always counterplay. That's why we make it that's why we put it into the heroic, into the classical age rather than that archaic age, where it tends to be no counterplay to that sort of a shenanigans. As the Terma come through, villagers getting pushed back. We do see the granary in the middle of the map getting taken down as the stable's starting to come through here. Kimo does have plenty of food in his main base. He's on 2 town centers. Skady going to have to start thinking about a second town center or a third town center fairly soon here in this game, as he sees the military buildings coming down. Kimo starting with a stable and a military academy here, as he's got to be kicking himself for not chucking the sentinels down on this position to help him stay alive. But in his main base with the watchtower and the sentinels here, this gold mine is going to be very, very safe here. You'd have to assume, with the town center also being nice and protective here of these buildings as well to boot. So Skady not going to be able to get in there anytime soon. Skady, he is just shooting for max population here. There's a world where Skady going for not a fast heroic, but a semi-fast heroic off of 1 town center into a full-on assault of this position on the back gold here could be a way to play. Idea being, instead of getting yourself that second town center, you spend those extra resources putting up a sky passage here and putting up a sky passage over here, as we see a very strange restoration usage there from Kimo. As the units pushing in, we see a house coming down to defend this position as well. More units pushing through here as Kimo desperately trying to hold on to this position as the villagers tried to get that house up. The units pushing forward. We'll be seeing a villager kill. Not quite as the villager retreats away. The villagers turn around to shank in on that position as the sentinel getting taken down. But this is going to be a lot of losses here for Skady as he takes the sentinel down. But the tower is still here. As the Chiron also getting good damage done. Kimo at this point with 650 wood in the bank. He is ready to farm, but he should be back onto this hunt after all is said and done, with those units putting so much pressure over there as the Chiron does get picked off, and Kimo at this point has only got 0 favor. He's got 0 favor in the bank, so we can't rebuild that Chiron immediately, as Skady going to continue to push in onto this position to take out villagers and prevent the gold income of Kimo here. As the villagers retreating back, Ajax is in position to kind of help defend as the tower's getting some good damage done. You have to remember, it's Hades watchtowers, so they do a little bit extra damage, I believe, actually 1.6 damage, so 3.2 from the watchtower every time they shoot that arrow is a bonus, a huge bonus actually for Hades. As villagers getting sniped down. Nice play there from Skady as he's continuing to assault this position. 100 population of 115, 15 villagers to 43 as Kimo, he is surviving at this point as the army trying to push in and trying to take the villagers off of these giraffe as they're not quite being able to be gathered at that point there, as the temple here could get under attack as well, as it looks like Skady at this point is going to be moving around. The villagers are coming over onto this gold mine, and like I said, the sky passage coming down to try and teleport around the map could be a very, very strong way for Skady to play in this game, but it looks like he's deciding against it for the time being as the villagers coming over here can start sneaking this hunt. There's also, well, there's some hyena down the bottom there, which aren't going to be the most useful, but they are being, those are going to be very annoying for Kimo. Obviously, he can put a market in the corner here, but the hyena guarding this gap here, it's the little things. It's the little things that excite me in this game. As the Terma swinging around to this position here, going to be looking to take down some villagers. There's also a stray elephant here as the Oracle now in position. And we do indeed see that town center coming up. Part of me would prefer to not, like I said, don't put the town center in, put the sky passages up on many different positions. There's a Terma coming through, going to start taking villagers down. There's some low HP villagers here as well that are going to get taken out as the temple getting close to getting picked off as well. That's going to prevent those Hades shades from coming in as the shockwave gets dropped here. And this is a huge amount of villager losses here for Kimo. Even though he's on 2 town centers, he's going to be losing tons of villagers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 villagers here going down as the army retreating back up onto this position. There's some hoplites here, but Skady can keep putting the pressure on as the villagers returning back onto this position here. We are still seeing that temple is a very important place to target down because it does stop the Hades shades for a moment. Obviously, the Hades shades continue to pile up, which I do think is it's a bug, but there's nothing we can do about it. Well, the Hades shades do continue to pile up after all is said and done if your temple is destroyed. So the temple can be rebuilt a little bit later with a huge Hades shade boost to come as the Terma moving back in onto this position. The hoplites have to get pulled back. Villagers back over onto this gold mine here as that sky passage, I mean, it's still not up. It could have been so useful here as Kimo, he's at 50 villagers at this moment. Very close in terms of villager differential here as now Skady's got himself the 2 town centers, still pumping units, still trying to put tons of pressure onto these locations here as the army pushes through to try and take out the watchtower on this position. It's a huge sacrifice in terms of HP to make this happen as the army pops through onto this position as Skady can get a huge amount of damage done with those Terma. Terma at a huge number are really, really good at sniping a low amount of units. You pull in, you can shoot one entire volley, and basically you can take out a unit without too much overkill. That's the general idea of the mass Terma, and you can hit and run. But once the fight is very big, then the units stop being so useful as the villagers popping out of this location, and Skady going to have to start standing his Terma and his Mamilo around to the top location there. We see the villagers over here getting this mining camp up as a hyena harassing the villagers over there as well. In classic Hades style, you're always going to be seeing a Hades player attempting to sneak a gold mine as the hyenas still coming through to take out even more units. As the Mamilo comes through, the villager's going to be trying to shank back over on that position as the Terma swinging around. We see a 3rd town center coming up now for Skady. After all is said and done, the villagers retreating back into the town center here as Kimo moves forward with his villagers onto this gold mine, but Skady does spot that with our villager. We'll see if he's going to be noticing it as his units pile through onto this position. The Terma simply just runs straight through the main base here. They should dodge the majority of the fire there as the Terma come in a little bit close to the villagers as they're going to be retreating away as the army of Skady looking to take this fight here. The hoplites here are going to be they're going to be a difficult unit to kill here as Kimo has managed to get himself up to 117 population. Skady's at 130 population, but it looks like Skady's not going to be able to convert the gold staff here. After all is said and done, Kimo has managed to secure enough gold after all is said and done here to keep himself alive and kicking in this game. As the Skady units have to retreat back, he's got some sort of an eye on this town center. And this is the next win condition here that Kimo, or lose condition that Kimo's got to be aware of, is that he cannot allow Skady to get that town center too easily here. As Skady does get this one up, and he should be able to go heroic age. Indeed, he will be going through Thea. This is a considerably late compared to a lot of other heroic ages we've been seeing from Oranos in this tournament, but lots of damage has been done. Lots of units have been lost, however, for Skady. So lots of resources have been spent, but lots of income has been reduced in terms of damage, in terms of losses here, as Skady moves through this main position of Kimo, running the hoplites around this position here as best as he possibly can, as we do see the temple coming up. And how many Hades Shades? Just one. Just one. That's how little Skady has put pressure onto the actual units of Kimo. Kimo hasn't really lost many military units this game, probably less than 10 thus far, whereas Skady he's only been picking off villagers at this point. There's a Promethean coming through to help out as best as they possibly can. Villagers here mining this or chopping this wood very much can get harassed here as Skady comes through with the units. He's kind of still putting pressure onto this position as we see the town center coming up. Picking off these villagers is a big deal here for Skady, but is it going to be enough as the Hesperid's tree getting dropped in the main base? The Dryad's going to be coming out as there's really not that many heroes here. Or there's no heroes here at this point, actually, for Kimo. As Skady getting some more military barracks down, going to start making those Arcas out. I'm not sure if Arcas at this point are the best idea, in all honesty. I always see this, and the Arcas come out, and I think you shouldn't start Arcas until you get Destroyers most of the time, as the Stymphalian birds are going to be able to clean up the majority of this. And if you just pump out Murmillo here to defend, and maybe even some Contarius to take out those Toxotes, you'd be in a much better position. But the town center at this point will be going up, as we don't see any effort there from Skady to prevent that one. Kimo gets his third town center, and he's sitting with some good population here. He's going to be getting those Hades Shades out of this temple after all of this fighting is starting. Kimo's at 60 villages. Skady's at 25 villages. Pretty close in terms of income. After all is said and done, you have to expect that Kimo's fairly happy with the position that he's in right now. He's got himself gold mines. He's got himself... the map is incredibly spread out, and I don't think that Skady is going to be able to muster too much of a resistance to what Kimo can get as this game continues along, just because of how good these Hades units are in these fights. You can see the difference. Medium Archers, medium Arcus here versus Toxotes, 7.5, 15 damage to 6.60 damage is a huge difference. Though obviously the Arcus do have the range bonus, so if you do play the range well, which is why I was saying maybe Destroyers first and then Arcus is a better way to go about staying alive here. As the Chiron does get taken down, the Stymphalian birds will be helping out considerably here, but at this point it doesn't seem like Skady can keep himself afloat at population, as he has to retreat back, but retreating back does also allow Kimo to get up to population as well, as the village, a very, very precarious position to leave 5 citizen on the map. We'll see if Kimo is going to notice that one at this point. He doesn't actually see it here, as the village is moving forward to check out the the giraffe here, but there's no giraffe. The villagers will be spotting the citizen on this position, as the villagers of Skady, the citizen of Skady, are going to be spotted now and potentially getting taken out as a hoplite and a Toxote coming through to take those down. Skady retreating back now into his main base, as Kimo, at full population, has his heroes out. He's got his farms set up pretty well on this position. 12 farms here. He's getting the hunt in the center of the map. Sniping citizen here is a huge deal for Skady to have to deal with. Skady still not retreating away, as the unit's still piling through here. Those Arcers are now in a decent position, sitting on the back here, not taking too much damage. But Kimo has just got such a strong army. Now we're seeing the raids coming through onto this position. The elephant in the corner of the map here going to be kind of useless compared to the Stymphalian bird, taking out those villages relatively quickly over here, as well as that Murmillo helping out on that position to get a little bit more damage done onto Kimo's economy. But at this point, I'm not sure it matters. In fact, like, it's almost as if the villagers will train faster than the Stymphalian bird can kill them here. But we will be seeing Kimo realizing he needs to retreat at this point. Almost finished up with the zebra over here as well, as Kimo was trying to get himself to that next age, turning around, taking this fight as best as he can with his Toxote hoplite army here, as the Ark is coming back through onto this position. And you got to ask yourself, at what point is Skady going to be able to get himself an army which can compete with the Hades army? And the only army I know of that beats Hoplite Toxotes when it's in this stage of the game with all the resources set up is basically Destroyer Arcus. Now, the Arcus are technically out here, and he can snipe down the Chiron and the Ajax here to help his Dryads to tank and everything like that, but maybe he could go Arcus Contarius here is another option instead of the Murmillo. The Murmillo don't seem to be doing all too much. With the Dryads tanking, the Contarius could push in and take out the Toxotes, or at least tank the Toxotes, run back and forth as an idea to make that work. There's a raid still coming through here, trying to target Kimo, but Kimo's going up now through Aphrodite. He's still got his gold mine in the main base with 110 gold. He's still mining this gold mine over here as well. The villagers on this position are being pushed back. Doesn't look like there's any gold elsewhere here for Kimo to grab, as Kimo now trying to target down this town center. He's losing all his units on this position. This is a very, very bold play here from Kimo. If he can take the town center down, life becomes incredibly tough for Skady. And with the help of Aphrodite, he's going to be able to take out a ton of those Arcas here as well. This Nymphalian bird getting some good damage done onto the villagers over here as well. We'll see if that curse is going to get dropped here or not. And it does, as he picks off 7 Arcas with that curse, dropping Skady's population down to 131 as the town center is going to fall. And Skady, we will be getting back up to 138 population, but he's going to be dropping down very fast once those Nymphalian birds die there, down to 134. More units going to be falling. The villagers finished up that town center there as the gold income of Kimo has actually stopped, however. So he will need to find his way back onto gold. And this is one opportunity here for Skady to have, and if he can figure this one out, he's going to be in a good position as the villagers coming back over onto this location to try and eat the elephant. As where can he go? He can send some villagers forward on this location to the gold over here, for example, or over here, or over here, or over here. Lots of different places he can move towards, as Skady and Kimo both sitting at 118 population. Kimo retreating back for the time being, letting these units die on the front. More units streaming into this position as well. And we'll see what Kimo can do, as he now has no gold. He can obviously drop a market and sell wood. That won't be a problem there either. As the village is retreating back. And he does come into the center of the map with that gold mine here. And Skady going to be rotating around to continue harassing the gold. He does see the villagers on this position as well, as the market will be coming down. See if any units make their way onto that position, as a palace going to be dropped here for Skady to try and hold this gold mine. Really, the only way forward here for Skady is going to be to get some sort of a gold star, but the longer he waits here before he's not really waiting, he's putting pressure on, but the longer Kimo can stay alive, the closer Kimo gets to some sort of like stabilization in this game. He's at 80 villagers. He's getting Vault of Erebus. Shaft mine coming through as well. Villagers moving up to this top position here to grab this gold mine as well, spreading out all across the map as the units coming down into the bottom here to hit some sort of a raid. There is one stable, so it wouldn't be a bad idea to make like a Hippocon or something to come over and defend this, or at least try and utilize the villagers to shank down the Arcus over there. As that gold mine has been shut down, we see Skady moving up to this top position here as a palace going to get dropped down. The villagers on this gold mine going to get taken out pretty quickly. Kimo's dropped down to 400 wood now, as well as at full population here in full swing. Skady can get himself fortified town centers and find himself at 140 population with the help of those Dryads. He should be completely fine here to take these fights, but he's not paying it. Well, he does pay attention nicely there. He starts that fight beautifully. Kimo's the one not paying attention, takes a huge amount of losses there. Definitely cannot be affording those sorts of losses here at this point in the game, as Skady getting a little bit back into this one, taking out a couple of those units as Kimo retreats back underneath the town center away from that location. But Kimo's still at full population. Skady might even be able to start pushing in to grab the town center back as well, as that Chiron needs to be sniped down to allow those Dryads to do as much damage as they possibly can. More units coming through here to harass the villagers, as the hyenas getting good damage done on that position as well. Meanwhile, the raids onto the gold mine here causing some problems for Skady as well after all is said and done, as the town center attempting to come back up Skady is at full population, but 130 population against the 145 population Kimo army. Hades army going to be a tough position to stabilize in after the Ajax going to chase those citizens away. We see the hoplites coming in to harass the villagers on this position, as well as Kimo is also getting a lot of those good raids happening in this game. Meanwhile, Toxotes getting taken down on this position as the villagers going to be happily mining that one as destroyers trying to come out. The town center is not going to be on the way. The only real option here for Skady, and this is something I would have rather see him get instead of heavy Arcus, is fortified town centers. Fortified town centers will be 10 extra population. That is 4 extra Arcus you could potentially make. That's a lot more value than 18 times 10%. Right? That's a lot more value. That's 18. This is like 1.8 extra Arcus. Fortified town centers plus those Arcus would be 4 extra Arcus. Definitely a better option there. But after all is said and done, Kimo now has managed to click up through to the Mythic Age significantly earlier than Skady has in this game, as the Arcus getting pushed back. Arcus searching around for some more villager kills here. But what this means is that Kimo is going to have access to the Chimera, which is going to be incredibly tough for Kimo, for Skady to deal with, for the Oranos to deal with, unless Skady gets to the Mythic Age himself and gets Lampedes. Lampedes are going to be a good answer to the Chimera, but he's a long ways away from a Mythic Age here after all of the trades happening in this position, not going as good as Skady would have liked. Meanwhile, over here, the Toxotes, not Toxotes, there is a Toxotes, but the Arcus getting chased down by the villagers as Skady has to retreat back. And with the raids happening over here, there's such a little amount of population being devoted into defending this one. So he can push in the middle completely fine and easy here. 60% of the way through Artemis's fortified town center is finally coming up as a palace getting dropped down into this position here to try and secure the town center. We'll see if he's going to be able to make that work here as well, as the Chiron still helping out tons against those Dryads coming through for Skady. And those Dryads are what are really sucking up Skady's gold at this point. Obviously, he needs to make them to tank for his Arcus at this point, but it's a lot of gold to invest in a unit that is getting killed very, very fast. You've got to be much more active at killing off the Chiron, you'd have to say. Those Dryads become relatively weak and useless. But now the Mythic Age has hit for Kimo, and we'll see exactly where he's going to decide to target down the home base, the top town center. He can take out the palace over here. Lots of different options. He can take out the palace here as well. As the Chimera are going to be moving forward to start getting some serious damage done. Heavy Toxotes is through for Kimo as well. Kimo's got himself fortified town centers to boot as the raid's still coming through onto this position. A heavy Palatas coming out here to try and cause some problems, but gets cleaned up fairly easily. Flood control coming through for Kimo as he's still holding on to that earthquake, deciding to click it onto this position as Skady going to be dropping his town center, dropping down to 1 town center after all is said and done, and loses the mana, so he's only got a total of 100 population here. As the Chimera are going to move forward, and that's going to be an incredibly difficult thing for Skady to deal with. He's still going for the raids on this position, but the units are coming out here to defend nicely by Kimo. Really nice min defending there from Kimo, as in the 25th minute, yet another Oranos feels the defeat of Hades in this tournament. Kimo plays it incredibly calmly, collectively. Skady was playing incredibly chaotically in this game, but could not get the gold starve that he wanted. There are too many gold mines on this map to be playing like that. Unless you go for the sky passages and you try and teleport around the map and just push off of the gold and just prevent the gold from happening completely, you have to expect the Hades player on 2 town centers to be able to survive here. And I think that, honestly, that there were 2 different things that I think that Skady could have tried here. One would have been, instead of getting himself Arcus, instead of continuing the assault once he hit the heroic age, throw down 2 palaces. 1 palace, obviously, on this town center here, and this palace here that he put down. This would allow him to make those destroyers straight away, and he can just stay on food and on gold instead of getting wood, and just go for basically destroyers. And then once he's got the palaces up, he can start getting the wood income, and he can start making those Arcus out. Instead of going into the Arcus straight away, it might be the case that that is what's necessary to at least have a chance here against the classical age 145 population Hades army. But potentially here Skady felt like he needed to continue putting the pressure on and try and make it work, but he just could not find the win. If you guys enjoyed this game, please consider hitting the follow on the Twitch. If you're on the YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next game.